Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Make sure and like and subscribe if you have not already done so. I really do appreciate it. Now, we've got our classroom under construction. It should be done in about 4 weeks, in which case we'll start filming out there and we'll be done filming in the shop, which is kind of nice. So I'll have a permanent setup for actually doing good quality videos out there. Now, what I want to talk about today is I watched this video the other day, and it was this guy, and he was talking about, I'll see if I can find the video, the description, because I didn't actually subscribe to his channel. I need to go do that. But I'll see if I can find the video and post it down in the description. But he was talking about the idea of carrying, full-size battle rattle, getting ready for, the civil unrest that they think is coming and that sort of thing. And he was like, that's just not the reality of how disaster zones work. And I was like, you know what? He's 100% right. That's been my experience as well. And so I thought, well, let's talk about this for a minute. So the mistake that people make is they end up they buy their plate carrier, they get their full loadout, they have their IFAC, their NODs, or their NVGs, whatever. They have their night vision gear. If you're not familiar with any other terms, that's what that is, NODs, NVGs. They get their battle rifle. Their battle rifle is capable of being fired with NVGs, fired from their gas mask on and everything. And so, and it's all really cool, impressive gear. It's fun to spend money on. It's a fun thing to buy. You need a justification to your wife to go buy it anyways. And so, preparing for civil unrest is the best justification you can come up with. Also because you want to go take classes, and the classes are fun. So you do the same thing. You need to you need to have that excuse, right? And don't get me wrong, I think that training is important, and I think it's a lot of fun to do. So I enjoy doing it. It is certainly our hobby, and we make a living teaching that type of stuff. So don't get me wrong, I'm not against you guys getting full battle rattle AR-15 training. We teach classes here, and I thoroughly am open to that. What do I teach a lot more of? I teach a lot more combat pistol classes and home defense shotgun classes. Those are the big ones, and those are the important ones. And here's what I mean by this. So when you think about natural disaster, let's think about Argentina, let's think about Venezuela, let's think about just Hurricane Katrina. What ends up happening is government infrastructure may shut down temporarily, but it tends to always get restored, at least in some capacity. Now, it may not be as effective as it was before, which is ironic anyways, because it's not effective in the first place. But it certainly is less effective. And so in Argentina, they have situations where somebody breaks into your house and you have to shoot them. You have to drag them outside and bury the body, because it might be 6 weeks before the cops actually show up to investigate. And so it's like you don't want that body like decomposing. So they run into these issues. So the services are still there. It's just broken down and not near as effective. And so that's the issue that you run into with this. And so did we see people in Argentina maybe throwing on full battle rattle on their AR-15s? Not really. Did we see people in Katrina doing that? Not really. Yeah, there are certain isolated events where people said, hey, we're going to protect our township, our area, our whatever group of friends, and they would kit up and get ready to go, and they would do that for a few weeks while the infrastructure was restored. But the problem is that they actually created kind of a target for themselves, because one, everybody knew that they had stuff there, but two, they created a target for themselves from the law enforcement and the military guys that under martial law were told, hey, go confiscate weapons and gear. And that was happening. That was happening at roadblocks and checkpoints and everything. People were being made into criminals that were not criminals because they had firearms, even under their Second Amendment rights. So the government absolutely will try to take your guns from you. And oh, by the way, if you're one of those cops and one of those police officers, or one of those military, uniformed military soldiers that did that, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you're a dirtbag and a scumbag, because I know that people are going to make the argument, and they're going to say, well, he's just doing his job. Fuck that. You are complicit in the crimes that happened to them after you took their guns, and you're a piece of shit. That's just a simple reality. The Nazis said the same thing. I was just doing my job, and they were pieces of shit. So, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox, but just a simple reality is, guys, is that do not uphold unconstitutional and immoral and unethical orders. You have an obligation to do that, even during martial law. So take of that what you will, but if you were one of those cops or one of those soldiers, you should resign. You're a scumbag, because you're violating your oath of protecting the population by taking their means, and they weren't a threat to you. It was simply the government overreach, and you were complicit in that overreach. So anyways, I digress. So here's the simple thing, guys. The simple fact is that this operation, we need to come at it from a covert stance, right? We need to come at it from, I need to have my system, my gear in a way that nobody knows that I'm carrying. Nobody suspects me of carrying. I have this gray man approach, right? The cops don't want to search my vehicle at a checkpoint and check and see if I have firearms there under martial law, because I don't want to lose the guns that I do have. Or maybe because I know I'm going through 3 different checkpoints, I'm going to actually leave my gun at home and I'm going to take a little bit more inconspicuous weapon, like, just a pocket knife, right? And so I'm going to have something like this instead, because even though, yeah, I'm all about carrying my guns and everything, but if I'm going through 4 different military checkpoints on my way to whatever, go get supplies, I may not have an option, right? Or I'm certainly not going to take my Wilson Combat. Maybe I'll throw a Glock 19 or a PSA dagger or something in the car, so that way if they do confiscate it, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that was there. You know what I mean? So you have think of some options on this, but the simple fact is that what we need to be looking at is a more covert stance on this. And so we should be looking at things like soft body armor. We should be looking at holsters that actually like suck into our body a little bit more, rather than like IDPA, or not IDPA, USPSA style competition holsters that stick out real far so you can grab them real fast. We want something that kind of sucks in, that makes it a little bit more covert. Same thing with our magazine holsters. We want magazine holsters that go on our belt, that can be covered with a t-shirt, covered with a sweater, so that everything is kind of combat ready at a moment's notice, but that's hidden out of sight, out of mind until then. I heard this one guy talked about doing chest rigs that are these kind of micro chest rigs that go under sweaters. And though I think that's not a bad idea, I don't personally like chest rigs like that very much. So it's, it certainly has its place. To me, it's easier to throw that stuff on a belt and in my pockets rather than having a chest rig. But it's certainly an option for you. So keep that in mind, guys. The simple fact is that infrastructure breaks down, but there's still some control. There's still some authority there. And so we have to be careful about what we end up doing, because we can't just start running around in full battle rattle. And so we should focus our training in the same way that we would for any other fight, right? On the fight that is in our, that could potentially be in our future, that has a likelihood of being in our future, not the fight that doesn't. And so the majority of our training should be done in pistol classes, because that's the reality of what we're going to end up using. And it should not be done with a battle belt on, right? I know everybody likes to train when they do pistol classes, they want to do battle belts. But the training should be done from concealment holsters, or just simple belt holsters with kind of like IDPA competition style setups, right? Where it's simple belt holsters that suck in close to your body. And that's really what we should be looking at with our training, is those type of setups, not the battle belt, right? I like the battle belt, don't get me wrong, but that's not the reality. That's not the setup that is in our future for most of us, if we ever have to use our gun. But the one thing I will tell you too is that you need to make sure that you're carrying a gun that is a quality gun that you can use in a gunfight. So I like to carry a gun. If I'm going to carry a pistol, right, I'm going to do all my training. I tend to do all my training with like one pistol. Whatever my favorite is, that's the one that I tend to do everything with. I compete with it. I carry it. I use it for classes. I always buy a tack rig holster for it, so I can throw it on a battle belt or on a plate carrier or whatever. I tend to have one pistol that I use for everything, and so because of that, I have lots of multiples of the same pistol. But anyways, so that's the way that I set my stuff up, and that's what I would encourage you to do. But you really want to be looking at like that kind of Glock 19 size pistol, right? So I don't carry a Glock 19 anymore, but that kind of Glock 19 size pistol is a really good pistol size for conceal and carry. It works really well in a tack rig. It works well in a belt holster. It works well in a lot of different scenarios. You have shorter sight radius, so you have quick sight alignment, but it's a long enough sight radius that you can get distance shots on it. And that's why when I compete in the division CCP and IDPA, because there's a division for those size guns. And so that's what I do. And that's what I would encourage you guys to look at, is use that size, that type of gun, and get your training with it, get your practice in with that. And really, you're going to be far more capable if you are surgical with one gun, with a conceal and carry gun that you can use, that you carry every day. You're going to be far more effective if you can use that gun to a very, very high level. And I know there's the argument, well, who says you get to train with or get to shoot with your gun? I agree. You should practice with other guns, but I do all of my training pretty much with one pistol because it's the pistol that I conceal and carry. It's one that goes on my tack rig. I have lights for it. I have holsters so I can throw a light on there and throw it on a tack rig if I want to, if I need to. But for the most part, it's carried right here, appendix carry, and without a light on it. So that's how I do majority of my training. My spare magazine is carried in my pocket with a magnetic clip on there. So, that's how I do the majority of my training. So it's something for you guys to look at. So anyways, I'm gonna let y'all go with that. I really appreciate y'all watching. Make sure and like and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. We're gonna try to keep content coming this month. December is really, really busy for us. And like I said, we're constructing our classroom right now. So January, we should be hitting content very, very hard next year. We will have content every Tuesday and Thursday for all of 2024. Or once, I should say, assuming no delays with the classroom, bear with us here and we'll get this done. Guys, again, I really appreciate y'all watching. Remember that if you want peace, prepare for war.